Youth unemployment has been described as the biggest crisis of our lifetime, and the effects of the scourge are visible in all corners of the country. The country's unemployment rate shot up to a record 32.6% in the first quarter of this year, and what has been a steady rise over the past 2 decades, and only interrupted by unsustainable seasonal upward adjustments that have failed to make any meaningful difference. Despite the events of the past year, the Youth Employment Service, together with its corporate partners, has continued to create work experiences for young Black South Africans. For more, we're joined by Tashmia Ismail-Saville, who is the CEO of Youth Employment Service. Tashmia, thank you so much for your time. When you look back since the launch of YES, what impact has the initiative had on the youth of our country?
We've got very measurable impacts, Natasha. If you look at the number of youth experiences we've created, despite a GDP contraction last year of 7%, the Youth Employment Service today has created 55,000 opportunities for youth to work. These are one-year work opportunities, and they put 3.1 billion in salaries into youth wallets. So in terms of the financial impact and in terms of the number of jobs created, it's very easy to measure. What is harder to measure, but is absolutely impact, is at household and community level. Those young people that have been given a chance through the Youth Employment Service were young people who didn't think they stood a chance of getting into the sector, the work sector, the labor force, and finding an opportunity. And this has just created such ripples of hope and dignity in their homes and communities. And those are harder things to measure, but absolutely important to give young people an understanding that they can make it in the workforce if they're given that first opportunity to shine.
The pandemic had an impact on all facets of the country and the world as well. But from your perspective as YES, how did COVID-19 impact your ability to be able to do some of the projects that you get involved in?
Look, the impact was quite dramatic. Remember that youth workers are most likely to have, the lower skills levels. They lack the experience. And so many of their jobs are actually done in face-to-face type of environments. And we try to place youth across the board. We place youth with no matric, youth with matric, and youth who are qualified tertiary grads. And so for 50% of our youth who tend to not have qualifications, this hit us pretty hard. What was excellent, though, is the companies that had already committed to jobs continued to pay young people. We also have smartphones. We've got a very digital program. And every YES youth that gets placed with a smartphone. And that smartphone has 0-rated apps from Vodacom. So these youth, we could connect to them, we could train them online, we surveyed them to see how they were doing, and we were able to send them materials during COVID to help with anxiety. We were able to survey how they were doing. So in terms of our youth that were committed in jobs, we were okay, but we definitely saw our numbers drop and saw a lovely resurgence in 2021, in February of 2021.
Right. We often talk about the economy and how in order for us to have a meaningful dent in the unemployment rate, the economy has to grow. What other ways or creative ways should we be thinking about getting our youth into the job space?
Yeah, that's such an important point. When people ask us our impact, they've got to understand it's very linked to the environment. It's linked to business confidence. If we can do things from a policy front, from a decision-making front that just gives businesses that confidence, we'll see them opening up payroll. These are strengthening our institutions. These are putting in policies for small businesses. The best place for a young person to get that first opportunity is actually in small business. If you look at the numbers for the European Union, for the United States, small businesses make the biggest contribution to jobs and GDP. We lag significantly in South Africa. So we need creative, strategic plans like YES. So the way in which YES has been able to create these 55,000 jobs is we have a policy incentive with the DTIC, where if companies open up their payroll to these young people and open up spaces to them, they get to move 1 or 2 levels up on the BEE scorecard. And we've got 1,560 corporate signups with YES. So we create these jobs with the private sector, and the private sector pay for them. So incentives and creative strategies that give benefits to the private sector to open up jobs is going to be a great way, a great strategy to create more of these. And then we need to start thinking about big mega projects that absorb large numbers of youth in agriculture, in light manufacturing, and in the digital space. We've got beautiful examples across Africa and India where thousands and thousands of youth are given digital skills, and then they're given digital jobs virtually right there in the communities that they live in. And these are they're being done around the world. So very easy for us to start copycatting some of these strategies.
Tashmia, thank you so much for your time. That is Tashmia Ismail Saville talking to us about the impact of the Youth Employment Service.